Is it shaking? I watched this new Netflix series and one episode I skipped. And after I watched the show, I was like, I wonder what I missed in that episode. Bear with me though. There was a scene, the man was grieving, and that's when the devil showed up. Telling the story, sorry, spoiler alert. Basically, the man believed the blue boy was from God, but the little boy was actually Satan. As the old man began to listen to the little boy, he became blind. And so, towards the end of the episode, the old man was completely blind, and the little boy was like,
you called out to him and he never answered. I'm the one who showed up, blah, 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 blah.
The man signed a deal with the devil. The point is, Satan will appear in our time of vulnerability and grief, posing as God, but you have to be wary of becoming spiritually blind to the will of God. I don't want to oversimplify life into two categories. However, majority of the time we can put people's intentions in the box of either good or evil, and that's because we are all spirits, and there's only two forces. There's good and bad. They have that of the creator and that of the enemy. So with that being said, you have to think about your intentions and what you're doing, how you're affecting other people. I believe majority of the people say, oh, I have good intention. If you say you have good intention, certain practices technically go against what you're saying. I don't believe in imposing your will on to anyone, because for one, that means that's not what they want to do. 2, why would you want that? 3, God doesn't even impose his will on us. It gives us free will, and he's the creator. You have to realize that Satan emulates God. That's his job. That's what he does. He wants to emulate God, not even imitate. Imitate is to follow after, like to be inspired by, but to emulate is to feel as if you're better than, or you try to overstep or outdo. Satan uses these new age beliefs and practices. When you look at them surface, they look similar to things that are of God or empowering or positive, but the deeper you get into these things, they have a dark aura around them. We are nothing without the man upstairs, and that's the truth. Being self-made is bogus. None of us are self-made, because a human is so flawed. We as humans are so flawed. We don't know as much as we think we do. Without a moral compass, you're aimless and you're directionless. And you may feel as if you have it all and this, that, and the other, but spiritually, where are you? And that's what God does, our spirits, our souls, and we have to have a guide to be guided. We can't guide ourselves spiritually. That makes no sense whatsoever. And so that's where Christ acts as our moral compass. God, he leads us to where he wants us to be. And when you align yourself with the perfect will of God, ultimately you win. You can't lose. When you have that moral compass, you don't need divination to guide you. Divination seemingly pops up in people's lives when they're in a vulnerable state, when they feel lost, when they don't feel like they know what's going on, this, that, and the other. But that's Satan playing with your mind to trick you into falling into this dark loophole. One, when you allow certain people to read your energy, that allows everyone to have access, or people to have access to you, and things need to be between you and God. When you share certain things, that allows Satan to hear you. And I say Satan because it's a spirit, it's evil. And the Satan can use anybody to play, they say play devil's advocate. So anyone can not be in the right spirit and they can attack you spiritually, and that's why you constantly have to be on your P's and Q's, and you have to realize it's not the flesh and blood, but more so that our spirits. That's why you have to have God on your side and you have to have Christ in your heart, so you're able to discern spirits. I know someone out there might say, well, it's not that bad, or this, that, and the other, but the truth is you don't know you're in the dark if you've never seen light. Sounds so ahead of myself, or as if I know everything, because I don't. But I do know that when you play on the devil's playground, you're just stepping on his territory, and then next thing you know, ooh, this is attractive. Let me go play on the monkey bars. Let me go play on the swing, the slide, and boom, next you know, you falling because you were so attracted to this, that, and the other. You didn't notice that this was broken, or you know, that this was a trap. God speaks to our hearts, and sometimes as humans we have the habit of lying to ourselves. No one's perfect. We all fall short. You know, none of us are perfect. But when you're speaking to spirit, or what else is it? Spirit guides and all of that, you are not talking to God. You think you are. And the thing is, when you are talking to God, you know it's God. He said his sheep know his voice, and that's very true. There's a difference. There's a different feeling. There's an eerie feeling. And undoubtedly, when you know God, you know God. God is holy and nothing but that. Satan tries to trap us in our vulnerable moments, to tie us down and trap us down, and to use you in your weakest moment to deteriorate your faith. What people don't understand is that God literally has it all under control if you keep your mind focused on him, if you have faith, if you trust him. No day is going to be perfect every single day. No, like that's not life. We live on earth. Things are going to happen to us. However, when you try to do things on your own, when you don't know what you're doing, bad things typically happen. And sometimes we're reaping our consequences of our actions. So it's important for us to not blame God for our mistakes, but instead use those times and things as lessons, and let that draw us closer to him, because we don't know, and clearly we tried it our way and that doesn't work, so that now we have no choice but to align ourselves with God. He says that he's willing to give us what we want, but we also have to realize sometimes what we want, because we don't know everything. Sometimes what we want is not what we need. When you align yourself with God's will, you get what you want, and sometimes what you get is what you need, and it's sometimes even better than what you wanted in the first place. So ultimately, you don't lose, you win. Power comes from God. We don't have any power because our strength comes from above, but without God, we're nothing. Without Christ, we're nothing. You want to manifest the will of God because God's will is perfect. Nothing is more powerful than that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anyone's doomed or demonic or going to hell or anything like that. That's not my job. I don't have a heaven or hell to put anyone in. But I am saying be careful of what you do and what practices you decide to follow, because sometimes something looks so innocent, but the root of it is actually evil. Prayer works. Prayer works. Don't let Satan trick you into thinking you don't need God. That's my biggest point.
Small disclaimer, I just wanted to make a statement and say that I'm not saying that spiritual gifts aren't real, because they are. Like I said, there's evil and there's good, and so if there's people who can do certain things in evil, they can do things in good, vice versa. So as I said before, Satan tries to emulate God, therefore, some things will seem similar, but they're not. So be wary of what you do. It's about having your spirit aligned with God. God equals righteousness. Follow the will of God. That's what I'm saying. Be careful with your practices and what you try to do, because your spirit is all that you have.
Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Be blessed.